Neptune washer bearing. Special toolkit rental saves time and effort. Well, it's obvious that your Neptune's bearings are failing because your washer sounds like a jet taking off when entering the spin cycle. Where do you start? Should you get a quote to have the old Neptune repaired? Can you complete the repair yourself and save money? Should you purchase a new washer and dryer? How long will the washer be down? Let's start with what a technician will quote you and why you will experience sticker shock. The quote to repair the bearings will run from $800 to $1,000, and the reason is that most of the repair techs will replace the large outer tub, which runs about $500 alone, plus labor, and maybe a new spinner support in case yours is damaged. The truth is that you cannot tell if the spinner support shaft is damaged until you get in there. But from my experience, in most cases, the spinner support is reusable. You can just replace the bearings and seal and get many more years of life from your Neptune front loader. I do recommend, if you're reading this and your bearings are still functioning, that you proactively replace your Neptune bearings if your machine is 10 years old or more. That way you can control the downtime, getting all the laundry washed before replacing your bearings and seal. In addition, to catch the bearing failure early, you get in there before all the rust sets in, makes it a much easier job with getting the front bearing out. If you're handy with tools, you can replace your Neptune bearings without the special toolkit rental. However, there are a few things you need to know about how the bearings are installed in the machine. The front bearing is slightly larger than the rear bearing, and there is a 1 3/4 inch pipe, the bearing spacer, that is sandwiched between the bearings. When you remove the front tub seal, you will see that the front bearing, and when you look at the front bearing's ID, you'll see a tunnel because of the bearing spacer. Then you will see the rear bearing's inner race, where you have about a 1/8 inch lip to grab onto to push or pull it out. The toolkit has a slick machined round nut that glides through the front bearing and spacer and will catch the rear bearing's inner race, and it uses the leverage from the T-handle to draw it out. Once the rear bearing comes out, the spacer falls out too. Now here's a photo with the new bearing spacer on the left and the older spacer on the right. Quite a difference in the thicknesses. Notice the front beveled edge on the new spacer. Install the spacer so that the beveled edge end is toward the rear bearing. Upon installation, you will install the rear bearing first using a tool. Next, you place the bearing spacer onto the special PVC spacer holder, and then you start to draw the front bearing in. The toolkit makes this a breeze since it keeps the spacer centered while the front bearing is being drawn in, and finally it clamps the bearing spacer. If you don't have the toolkit, you have to come up with a way to hold the spacer centered when you install the bearings. So the toolkit rental saves you time and effort. The Neptune bearing toolkit rental includes the bearings, the 1200 2022 seal kit, a pair of snap ring pliers, a 2-inch wire wheel, emery cloth, step-by-step DVD, and an extra bearing spacer in case yours is cracked or corroded. Note that earlier Neptunes have a snap ring that you need to remove before pulling the rear bearing. The wire wheel is to clean out the bearing housing after the bearings are removed, and the emery cloth is to smooth the front bearing seat in case of any ridges or ripples that may have developed due to the failed front bearing. The kit is shipped priority mail to you, so you will receive it within 2 to 3 days typically. Now let's focus on the seal kit. The seal kit includes 2 seals, the earlier lip seal and the revised lip seal. You need to use the same one that you removed since they require different shaft machining. I have had some Neptuners decide to replace the spinner support so they could install the revised lip seal when their machine originally had the earlier lip seal, but it is not necessary. I have videos that demonstrate the 2 different seal kit installations to help you out as well. I personally replaced the bearings and seal on a MAH 5500 BWW washer in 1.5 hours, and it was my second time of using the toolkit. I would also recommend having an 8 to 10 pound sledgehammer available when changing the bearings. So if you decide to use a Neptune bearing tool or go it alone, you can get everything you need at neptunebearing.com.